Chosen one, they lied to you. They told you to keep your head down, to not question the silence, to stay humble when they disrespected you. They called it patience, but it was suppression. They said God wouldn't want you to shine too bright, to take up too much space. But chosen one, that wasn't God speaking. That was fear. That was control. That was their voice, not his. Because the truth is, God has been waiting for you to wake up. Wake up to the fact that what they tried to bury was a seed. Wake up to the reality that you were never meant to live small. You were born with fire in your breath and light in your bones. But they lied, and the lie almost worked. Almost. You see, when the world can't handle your power, it will call it too much. When they can't match your clarity, they'll label it arrogance. When they feel the presence of the divine on you, they'll try to cage it with guilt and shame. They did it to prophets, they did it to healers, and now they tried it on you. But God won't lie to you. He will never ask you to shrink. He will never ask you to be silent while you're being attacked. He will never demand that you fit in when he called you to stand out. He says, asterisk, asterisk, you are my chosen. You were made for this fire, and the truth is exposed now. Asterisk, asterisk, that's why you're here. Not by accident, not by chance. This is divine timing. So do not look around waiting for confirmation. You are the confirmation. You are the prophecy. And if your spirit is already feeling this, if you know this message is times for you, times, then pause, hit that like button to claim it. Subscribe now to join thousands of chosen one souls walking this same path. And in the comments, type asterisk asterisk 777 asterisk asterisk, declare that the veil is lifting and the truth is clear. Because here's the truth they didn't want you to know. You were never meant to blend in. You were meant to break the system. That's why you feel so different. That's why the spaces you walk into either light up or get uncomfortable. Because your spirit doesn't match the programming. Because your frequency makes demons twitch. Because your energy tells the truth, even when your mouth says nothing. You're not imagining it. They tried to program you to believe you're broken. They told you you're too sensitive, too intense, too dramatic. But what they call times, too much times, is exactly what this world is dying for. Your depth, your discernment, your knowing, your presence. They feared it, so they shamed it. But God, He anointed it. He placed it there to disrupt, to realign, to destroy the systems built on fear and illusions. You didn't fall out of alignment. You were never supposed to fit into a world built on lies. You were times sent asterisk. You are the disruption. You are the one who doesn't flinch when the mask falls off. And now the masks are falling fast. They lied to you, but they can't lie anymore. God said the truth is exposed now, and that includes what's been hiding in times you asterisk. You thought you were weak, but it was just your power still incubating. You thought you were lost, but it was just God rerouting you so no one else could steal the glory. You thought it was rejection, but it was redirection. And now, suddenly, you see the pattern. Everything they said was wrong with you was the exact evidence that you were chosen. Let that sink in. They hated your truth because their whole existence was built on denial. They called you the villain, the rebel, the black sheep. But heaven calls you times the light bringer asterisk. You didn't come to play the game. You came to change it. That's why you never felt comfortable playing along. And listen carefully, because someone needs to hear this. You're not cursed. You're not being punished. You're not late. You're not crazy. Your time's early asterisk. You're ahead of your time. That's why it feels so lonely sometimes. But the truth is catching up, fast. And when it does, the very ones who labeled you unstable will come back needing your wisdom. The same mouths that said you were delusional will whisper your name when they need clarity. And you won't even have to say, "I told you so." Your existence will be the proof. Chosen one, they lied to you. But God has never stopped telling the truth. You feel it in your spirit. You feel it in the way your body tenses when something's off. You feel it in the way you sense what others pretend not to see. That's not paranoia. That's discernment. That's God speaking through you. You're not just times a times chosen one. You are times his asterisk. And now the tide is turning. The veils are burning. The illusions are collapsing. You were hidden for a reason, but not anymore. It's your time. Now take a breath. Roll your shoulders back. Stand tall. Because the same voice that said, "Let there be light," is the same voice that just whispered your name. You are not who they told you you were. You are who God says you are. You are the proof that the lie has failed. You are the sign they feared would come. You are the truth embodied. Keep listening, continued, because this is only the beginning. They thought they could silence you by distracting you with shame, with noise, with survival. But chosen one, you weren't sent here to survive. You were sent to reveal. That's why nothing makes sense when you try to just go along. Because your soul didn't come here to comply. It came here to awaken others with every step you take in truth. You don't even have to speak sometimes. Your times being times does the work. Your walk shakes atmospheres. Your silence convicts spirits. Your eyes tell stories that their lies can't erase. You've always known something wasn't right, even when you didn't have the words, even when you couldn't explain why you felt different. But now the words are finding you, because God is speaking through you, in you, as you. The shift is not coming. It's already here, and you are part of it. That feeling of restlessness, that's not anxiety. That's alignment knocking. That sense that something times huge times is just around the corner. You're not imagining it. You're being prepared. And the more you accept that, the less you'll feel the need to convince anyone, because they lied to you, but you don't have to argue anymore. You don't need validation from the same system that tried to keep you asleep. You are no longer waiting for permission to exist. You are no longer asking for understanding from people committed to misunderstanding you. You are no longer dimming your light to comfort their shadows. Chosen one, it's time to flip the script. You weren't rejected. You were set apart. You weren't forgotten. You were hidden. You weren't crazy. You were connected. You weren't broken. You were being built differently. And now that you know, what will you do? Will you keep hiding in their lie? Or will you rise into the truth? God didn't give you that gift just so you could keep doubting yourself. He gave you the vision, the fire, the intuition, the strength, because you are the one, not just to survive this storm, but to speak peace to it. Not just to walk through the fire, but to carry the flame. You are the one. And if you're still watching, you times know times I'm talking to you. This isn't just a video. This is a call. A call to remember who you are. To shed every false identity they placed on you. To rise with the clarity that God times never times changed his mind about you. He's not waiting on you to become someone else. He's waiting on you to remember who you times already are, asterisk. Chosen, called, covered. And let's be clear, the world's not falling apart. It's being exposed. The truth is rising, and your spirit is the vessel. But don't think you have to be loud to be powerful. Some of the strongest shifts happen in silence. Some of the most dangerous light is quiet light, but it never hides, and neither will you. They lied to you when they said you're too intense. They just weren't ready for real. They lied when they said your feelings were too much. That's because numb people always reject sensitivity. But God, He trusts you with that sensitivity. It's how you hear Him. It's how you feel when something's off. It's how you know when to move. Don't numb what makes you powerful. Don't suppress what makes you sacred. Don't tame what makes you chosen. They couldn't stop you with fear. So now they'll try to distract you with approval. They'll try to make you question yourself with half-hearted support. Don't fall for it. Remember, validation is not vision. They didn't see what you saw. They weren't in the room when God whispered your name. You were. And now, the only question is, are you going to act like it? If you feel this message deep in your bones, take a second. Click the like button. That's not just support, it's a declaration. Subscribe, not just to this channel, but to this path. To walk it with others who hear the same call. To rise with the thousands of chosen one souls across the world, stepping into alignment. And if you're bold enough, comment asterisk 777 asterisk. That number is not a gimmick, it's a signal. A sign to heaven and earth that you're done playing small. You're ready to walk in the light they tried to hide from you. And, just in case you forgot, the truth will not be silenced, and neither will you. God said, it's time. The lie ends here. Stay with me. The truth has more to say. Chosen one, here's what they never told you because they never wanted you to find out. There is power in your pain. Real power. Not the kind that screams, not the kind that fights back with fists, but the kind that walks through fire without begging for rescue. The kind that bleeds quietly and still keeps moving. The kind that feels everything and still chooses love. They lied when they said your softness was a weakness. But God didn't put that tenderness in you by mistake. It's the reason storms calm when you speak. It's the reason even your silence teaches. It's the reason people are drawn to you without knowing why. They feel it, that you've carried weight they couldn't survive, that you've seen things and still chose to believe, that you've been crushed but never destroyed. This world tries to glorify hardness, toughness, numbness, disconnection, but heaven recognizes something else. Resilience that feels, power that cries, strength that bends but never breaks. You carry that, and they don't know what to do with it. So they tried to erase it. They gave you roles to play, masks to wear, labels that were too small for the truth in you. But you never fit, did you? Because you weren't made to. You weren't made to entertain their illusions. You weren't made to agree with lies just to stay loved. You weren't made to break yourself down just to be accepted. You were made to times reveal asterisk. And that's exactly what you've been doing, even in your silence. Even in your confusion. Even in the nights when you doubted yourself so much it hurt to look in the mirror. Your presence is loud, even when your voice is quiet. Your spirit speaks when your mouth is closed. You're not here to be understood by everyone. You're here to be remembered by the ones who needed your light the most. And they will. They may not say it out loud, they may not give you credit, but they feel it when you leave the room. They feel the absence of your energy, because when you show up, the frequency shifts. That's not arrogance, that's alignment. Stop shrinking to make others feel safe. Stop twisting your truth just to avoid their discomfort. You're not here to make them comfortable. You're here to make them times C asterisk. And if they can't handle that, then they're not ready for what God put inside you. But you are, because you've been through too much not to be. This path hasn't been random. The detours, the betrayals, the delays, they were all training ground, because what's on your life isn't ordinary. It's sacred, and sacred things take time. God was never punishing you. He was preparing the environment that could actually times hold, times the gift you carry. You can't plant roses in concrete. So he broke the concrete, pulled you out of dead places, cut ties that looked like blessings but were actually blockages, and you cried. You begged to go back. But now you're starting to see it wasn't rejection. It was time's protection asterisk. Because God doesn't just call you. He times covers times you. You were hidden, not forgotten. You were delayed, not denied. You were isolated, not abandoned. You were being positioned for something no one else could carry. That's why comparison has no place in your story. You can't compare blueprints when the assignment is original. You can't look sideways when the instructions came from above. And deep down you know, you've always known. That's why the same things that excited others bored you. Why the same dreams they chased never moved you. Why you never cared for surface-level success. Because your soul has never been here for applause. You've been here for impact. You've been here for alignment. You've been here to set a frequency that others can rise into. And that's why it's been heavy. That's why you've questioned yourself more times than you can count. Because this world rarely affirms what it doesn't understand. But God does. He sees you. And He's not confused about who you are. You are the breaker of cycles. You are the one who said, enough, when everyone else said, this is just how it island. You are the shift in your bloodline, the shift in your community, the shift in the atmosphere. Not because you're louder, not because you're flashier, but because your time's aligned asterisk. Because you paid the price to know what's real. And now the illusion doesn't tempt you. The approval doesn't sway you. The clout doesn't move you. Because when you've faced yourself in the dark, you stop seeking validation in the light. You know who you are, even when they don't, even when they lie on your name, even when they rewrite the story to make themselves the hero. You stay solid, because you don't fight for the spotlight, you carry the Sunday, and the sun doesn't argue. It times shines asterisk, chosen one. If you're feeling this, hit like. Not for me, for you. Mark this moment, because it's not a coincidence that you're hearing this times right now asterisk. Something in you has been stirring, something ancient, something holy, and this is your sign that it's time. You're not early, you're not late, your time's on time asterisk. Subscribe to join the ones who see what others deny, who feel what others ignore, who carry what others fear. And drop a asterisk 777 asterisk in the comments if you know the truth is already alive in you. Because from this moment on, you don't move to prove, you move because you times know asterisk. And they can't unsee the truth once you walk in it. More is coming. You know what's wild? Chosen one? They weren't afraid of your flaws. They were afraid of your time's clarity asterisk. Because when someone like you starts to see clearly, everything around you starts shaking. Relationships that were built on illusion start cracking. Environments that fed off your confusion start expelling you. The moment you stopped pretending not to notice was the moment everything shifted, and they felt it. They felt the shift in your energy before you even said a word. Because people who rely on your silence can always feel when your spirit starts speaking. You didn't even have to announce it. They knew, that something in you had awakened, that something in you had remembered. And that scared them more than anything else, because the moment you remember, you stop giving your power away. You stop explaining what you feel. You stop apologizing for being too much. You stop softening your message just to be liked, and you start walking with that steady, quiet authority that can't be shaken. That kind of presence makes people nervous, especially the ones who once fed off your confusion, especially the ones who needed you to doubt yourself in order to feel safe. They don't know what to do with you now, because you're not playing the role anymore. And the mask they created for you doesn't fit your face anymore. It's slipping. And every time you open your mouth, the truth spills out. Even when you're not trying, even when you whisper, it thunders. Even when you're gentle, it pierces. Because you carry revelation now. And revelation always confronts false comfort. It exposes the systems. It challenges the excuses. It burns through the fog. That's why you've felt more resistance lately. Not because you're off path, but because you're walking in your full weight. You're taking up the space you were always meant to hold. And those who built their sense of control on your hesitation, they're uncomfortable. Let them be, because God didn't craft your spirit to be digestible to the insecure. He didn't design your truth to be approved by fragile egos. He didn't anoint your life so you could ask for permission from those still asleep. You were made to awaken, to disrupt, to rewire the entire atmosphere by times being times who you are. Not performing, not adapting, just times being asterisk. And that more than anything is what makes you unstoppable. Because the world doesn't know what to do with someone who needs nothing external to confirm what God already whispered in secret. You don't need their claps anymore. You don't need their nods. You don't need them to get it, because now you do. You get it. You understand that every loss sharpened your discernment, that every betrayal polished your wisdom, that every season of isolation purified your voice, that every delay was divine alignment, not punishment. And now that you see it, you can't unsee it. Now that you've tasted truth, nothing fake satisfies. Now that you've heard God clearly, noise feels unbearable. Now that you've stepped into authority, small talk feels like chains. And guess what? That's okay. Because you didn't come here to keep things comfortable. You came here to keep things times real asterisk, to carry conversations that crack open healing, to walk into rooms and shift the frequency, to be the person who walks in truth no matter the cost. And yes, it costs. It costs comfort. It costs familiarity. It costs people who only knew how to love the old version of you. But what you gain? Peace that can't be purchased, clarity that cuts through chaos, alignment that cannot be faked, and a connection with the divine that doesn't require middlemen or microphones. That's the real wealth. That's the inheritance they didn't want you to know about. Because the moment you stop begging and start embodying, you become untouchable. Not because life gets easier, but because you no longer outsource your authority. You're not chasing what you already are. You're not performing for crumbs when you've got keys to the table. And every time you speak from that place, something in the air shifts. The illusions can't hold, the lies can't stand, the masks can't stay on, because you've become a mirror. Not everyone will like what they see in your presence. That's not your problem. Your job isn't to maintain their comfort. Your job is to maintain your alignment. And if that makes you the disruptor, so be it. God didn't choose you because you could blend in. He chose you because you never could. And now, the world is starting to notice. Now the spotlight you once avoided is finding you not to flatter your ego, but to illuminate your essence. It's not about fame, it's about function. Your voice carries instruction. Your walk carries restoration. Your story carries transformation. And they're going to try to label you again. Don't let them. They'll try to redefine you by their limited language. But your identity was never up for debate. It was spoken in spirit. It was confirmed in wilderness. It was stamped in fire. And now that you've come through it, you walk differently. You speak with weight. You move with conviction. And people who live in deception will always try to call that arrogance. Let them talk. Your fruit will speak louder. And every seed you've planted in secret, it's breaking through the soil now. This is harvest time. And no lie they told about you can stop what's been divinely appointed times for times you. So lift your head, straighten your spine, walk like you carry something holy because you times do asterisk. Like this message? Let that like button know you're here and you're not backing down. Subscribe to join the ones who refuse to forget who they are, who choose truth over comfort, spirit over noise. And comment asterisk asterisk 777 asterisk asterisk if you feel the ground shifting under your feet. It's not an earthquake, it's your arrival. Keep breathing. More is unfolding. Chosen one, there's something you need to understand right now. The attacks didn't start when you got stronger. They started when you got clear. Because clarity is what hell fears most. When your heart is broken, but your spirit stays focused, that's when the enemy panics. When you're exhausted, but still aligned. When you're isolated, but still listening to God. When nothing around you makes sense, but something in you still times, knows, asterisk. That's when you become dangerous. Because nothing is more threatening to darkness than a soul that refuses to go blind. And that's you. You didn't just survive what tried to destroy you. You times saw through it, asterisk. And the moment you saw it for what it was, everything shifted. It wasn't just an X. It wasn't just a job loss. It wasn't just a tough season. It was a spiritual test, designed to make you question your light. But you didn't fold. You held the line when it made no sense. You stood when it would have been easier to run. You kept your heart open when closing it would have been the safer choice. And now, that same light they tried to extinguish is lighting the path for others. They didn't want you to see it. Because when you start seeing clearly, you stop settling quietly. You start asking questions. You start speaking what others are still scared to whisper. You start disrupting the roles they assign to you. And for people who've built their comfort on your confusion, that's threatening. But clarity isn't a threat to truth. It's only a threat to control. That's why the shift is real. That's why things have felt heavier lately. Because you're not just waking up. You're times activating, asterisk. And when you activate, the old agreements start breaking. The unspoken contracts, the ones where you played small so they could feel big. The ones where you stayed quiet so they didn't have to confront themselves. The ones where you shrunk yourself to keep the peace. They're being torn up. Because you're done sacrificing yourself on the altar of someone else's comfort. You're done apologizing for who you've become. You're done explaining why you can't go back. Because going back would mean betrayal now, not just of yourself, but of the calling that pulled you through hell to begin with. And let's be honest, what's behind you has nothing left to offer. It already showed you what it island, it already revealed its ceiling, and you outgrew it. Not because you became better, but because you became time's real asterisk. You stopped playing roles. You stopped performing peace when there was war inside you. You stopped pretending to be okay with things that were breaking your spirit. And once you stop pretending, the whole world changes. Not because the world gets softer, but because your tolerance for what's fake disappears. And now, you crave different. Not louder, not bigger, not faster times realer asterisk. Depth over performance, substance over status, God over everything. That shift, that's spiritual maturity. And they didn't teach you how to handle that. So it's felt lonely. Not because you're alone, but because the air is thinner at higher altitudes. And you've been climbing. Every prayer you whispered with a shaking voice. Every night you stared at the ceiling asking if you were crazy. Every step you took with trembling faith. It was all climbing. And now, you're seeing things from a different view. You see through smiles that don't mean peace. You hear the spirit behind the words now. You feel dishonesty in the air before it even speaks. That's not paranoia. That's prophetic sensitivity. You're not imagining it. You've just evolved past the level where people can lie to you and expect you not to notice. And that changes everything. Because when you start hearing truth in everything, even the silence, you can't unhear it. And when God starts confirming in your times, discernment times, instead of your circumstances, you stop waiting for evidence and start moving by revelation. That's what faith really island. It's not shouting louder. It's standing quieter with deeper roots. You don't shake the same anymore. You don't break the same. You've been through too much to be rattled by noise. That's why they're confused. Because they used to know how to get to you. They used to know what button to push. But those buttons aren't wired to anything anymore. Because healing rewired the system. Because grace unhooked the shame. Because alignment silenced the triggers. And now when they try the old tactics, it just doesn't work. That's not you being cold. That's you being times clear asterisk. That's you being delivered. That's you finally moving from reaction to revelation. So let them watch. Let them misunderstand. Let them throw stones and rewrite your name in their stories. Your story is already written in heaven. Your name is carved in the secret place. And no lie can erase what God has called holy. So if you're feeling this, don't scroll past it like it's just another video. Click like, not because it helps the algorithm, but because it marks the moment. This times is times the moment, when your old self recognizes your new authority, when you stop waiting for permission to move, when you walk like you times know times you've been sent. Subscribe to Walk with the ones who see what can't be explained, who feel what others try to silence, who carry what others fear. And comment asterisk 777 asterisk if your spirit is wide awake and your clarity is no longer for sale. Because the veil isn't just lifting, it's already gone. And now you see everything. More to come. Chosen one, there's something else they never told you. You weren't just built to survive the fire. You times are times the fire. And every room that tried to burn you was really just revealing your temperature. You didn't just walk through heat, you revealed that you times are times the source of heat. That's why they couldn't handle you. They thought you were fragile because you were soft-spoken. They thought you were weak because you gave grace. They thought you were naive because you kept forgiving. But you were never any of those things. You were discerning. You were spiritually aware. You were choosing alignment over ego while they were still playing games with image. And now, the ones who called you too quiet can't silence the echo of your absence. Because when light leaves a room, darkness doesn't. Clap, it panics. Your exit was never about drama. It was about preservation. because you don't stay where your spirit is being dishonored. And if that makes people uncomfortable, let them sit with that. You're not responsible for how people react to your boundaries. You're only responsible for maintaining them. That's growth. That's spiritual backbone. That's the evolution they never expected. They thought you would always come back, that you would always second-guess yourself, that you'd keep folding to keep the peace. But peace that costs your voice is just a pretty form of spiritual suffocation. And you've had enough of that. You know what it's like to choke on your own truth, to bite your tongue so hard it bled, to hold your breath in rooms that couldn't hold your presence. You learned the hard way self-betrayal is the most expensive lie you can live. So now, you don't lie. Not about what you feel, not about what you see, not about what's real. And that kind of honesty is rare. So rare, it gets labeled as offensive, because the world is addicted to polished fakeness, because most people are more comfortable with charm than they are with conviction. But you didn't come here to be charming, you came here to be clear, and clarity doesn't always smile. Sometimes it slices, sometimes it flips tables, sometimes it says no and closes the door without guilt. That's not cruelty, that's maturity, because grace isn't weakness, it's restraint. And when you stop extending grace to what keeps wounding you, you step into time's justice asterisk. And justice is divine. It's not revenge, it's not rage, it's alignment that corrects what's been allowed to stay broken for too long. You carry that now, that correcting frequency, that atmosphere-cleaning presence, that authority that walks into places and makes spirits sit up straight. You didn't ask for that mantle, but you were born with it, and every time you tried to ignore it, your life stopped working, because the calling doesn't care about your comfort. It cares about your time's capacity, asterisk, and your capacity was never made for shallow waters. That's why shallow people couldn't keep you. That's why you never lasted in surface-level relationships. That's why environments with no depth started feeling suffocating. You weren't being dramatic. You were being times called asterisk. God was pulling you into deeper things, into conversations that require spirit, into spaces that honor depth, into relationships that meet your truth instead of managing your potential. That's the season you're in now. A season where anything that doesn't honor your evolution will feel like poison, even if it looks good, even if it sounds holy, even if it carries the right words but the wrong energy. Your discernment has never been louder, and your spirit refuses to lie. You'll know it when the smile doesn't match the eyes. You'll feel it when the prayer feels like performance. You'll sense it when the compliment carries a hidden agenda. You'll walk away, not because you're better, but because your time's done, time's pretending you don't notice. That's spiritual integrity, and it's the standard now. Because once you've walked with God in silence, fake community sounds like noise. Once you've been led by peace, chaos feels unbearable. Once you've been refined by fire, counterfeit light can't trick you. So if it's not real, you're not staying. And if you lose people over that, then they were never with the version of you God called. They were with the version of you that times hid, asterisk. And you're not hiding anymore, not your gift, not your voice, not your standards, not your spirit. You are not here to negotiate your light. You're here to be the light. Chosen one. If you're still watching, something in your soul is testifying. If your chest is tight and your spirit is rising, it's not just emotion, it's recognition. You recognize yourself in these words. You recognize your path in these truths. You recognize the times that's been growing beneath the surface for years, finally standing up. So stand tall. Hit that like button if you know this moment wasn't an accident. Subscribe to walk with the ones who were never meant to dim just to survive. And if your whole being is saying times yes, asterisk, drop asterisk asterisk 777 asterisk asterisk in the comments so the algorithm knows what heaven already confirmed.